Hello, everyone. Welcome to Breaking the Curse with Sunshyne and Nikki. If you are new here, thank you so much for clicking on our channel. I hope that you consider being a part of the family. And if you are returning, welcome back, fam. We hope that you enjoy this content today and it is impactful. Don't forget to click down in the links below in the bio to follow us on all of our social handles and to connect with us. We love hearing from you. And also don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. I'm Nikki. This is my older cousin Sunshine. And we created this channel to talk about breaking the curses, generational curses of trauma and wealth disparities and income disparities and financial literacy and growth. So we hope that you guys enjoy watching us glow up and becoming the people that our ancestors dreamed we would become. Woo! Okay, that was a lot.
What you said? What you said?
All right. So today's episode is about, it's called, what is it called? You Can't Heal What You Don't Reveal. Changing the narrative, truth versus perception. So I'm going to go ahead and let Sunshine bring that in.
I don't even feel right being put on the spot like that. I mean, I feel like the subject says it all. You can't heal what you don't reveal, and most of us, at least in my generation, we were taught to conceal, not reveal.
Mm-hmm.
We were taught to hide. We were taught not to be truthful while being told to tell the truth, which is, of course, is an oxymoron. But that's what we were told, So I don't know if your generation experienced so much of that as my generation did, or even the difference in the two families, being more connected to your mom's family than your dad's family. So I don't know if you experienced it to the level that I did. So did you?
Yeah, I think so. I think that we, from what I remember growing up, it was always, it could be chaos everywhere, right? But just make sure that you're putting your best foot forward. Make sure that the perception of you and your image is up to par. My hair is done. I have on my uniform, everything is fine, even though I may have not slept the night before because I'm at the top of the steps listening to my parents argue all night. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it was always, don't let everybody in your business.
Of course.
And internalize all of these big, heavy emotions that as a kid, you don't know what it is, right? You don't know what you're feeling. So yeah, I think that it was a lot of hiding and packing stuff in. And
do you think that that's really changed? I mean, when you look at where you are, where we are as a society, you think that part, as far as the appearance of, do you think that part has actually changed?
No, I don't think it changed at all. I think that I think with social media, it became worse because everyone can make this false reality. Like, oh, life is great. Oh, look at me. I'm on vacation. Or, and not really saying like the struggle. And even when I think about when I decided to say something about the whole infidelity thing, right? It was like, I got from people that I really mess with, right? Like, yo, you can't be telling everybody your business, like, and it was like, it's not that, it's the fact that we don't even talk about
The truth.
And then when other people are in a situation and need help, right, you feel so alone. And then on the other end, I had women coming to me like, the same thing happened to me with my husband or my mother-in-law. And it was like, oh, okay, so I'm not alone. but we just don't talk about it. We hide behind the makeup, we hide behind the hair, the family photos, the smiles. Meanwhile, Billy Joe is over here beating your tail every night, or whatever the case may be. And it looks like life is just perfect. So then it enables and helps the mental health crisis, right, of someone spiraling because they feel like they're alone because everybody looks perfect. And you think that you're the only one going through health issues, relationship issues, money issues, whatever the case may be, because no one is vulnerable enough or honest enough to speak their truth. And I think that's the importance of what we're doing. Like, it's like, look at me, completely naked. I'm letting you know this is life. And I'm trying to make it through life.
I agree. I think that my daughter's generation is the generation that actually breaks the curse of the appearance of.
Mm-hmm.
Listening to you talk, you and I have about a 15-year age difference, and you and her have about a 15-year age difference, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe a little bit more, but I think so, if I do the numbers right. But her generation, they don't give a daggone what they look like. They could care. You want me to do what? To go outside? Why do I care? She literally told me the other day, let me tell you, because she messed her skin up. Okay. She's been doing it since she was a baby. She'll find a bump and she'll pick at it and it'll get completely yucky. And then we'll get it to heal. And then she'll get the bump in the same spot and she'll do it again. So I'm like, about makeup. You can tell me about makeup. You don't want to do it. And she said, no. And I said, okay. I said, you don't want people, to not look at it. She was like, I don't care. And I said, what do you mean you don't care? And she was like, I really don't care. She was like, they have to look at me. I don't have to look at me. That's their problem, not mine. That sounds like a personal problem to me if they're offended because I have scars on my face. She was like, so what? I have scars. She was like, some people, they look beautiful, but they have different kind of scars. So I could care less that I have scars that you can see when people hide scars every day. And that's the generation that she comes out of, but it's also a matter of how she was raised, because I didn't raise her to hide this. I didn't raise her to be ashamed or not be able to tell her truth or whatever the case may be. And I didn't have that. So a lot of things that I didn't have when I was a kid, I made sure that my children had it. And of course, that means to the older generation, they're disrespectful, they're rude, because if you ask them a question, they're going to tell you the truth. And you really want to hear child's truth.
That's the truth. Oh, Lord.
That's the truth that you're really just not ready for, But
I know all about that.
It's interesting because now your generation, the difference so that was the difference in her generation and both of us. But your generation is different in the aspect of y'all was allowed to wear makeup. Y'all was allowed to experiment with just being a lady or a woman on a different level. I was raised in a generation where makeup meant you had to be ugly. That's number one. And it meant you were some type of promiscuous person and you were trying to get attention, and it was satanic because you wanted to cover the blemishes on your face or whatever the case may be. So that's just in that little part right there, we can tell the difference from generation to generation to generation. And that's where we get to the point of we need to break these curses, because something as simple as telling me that I can't go outside if I'm not fully dressed from head to toe, looking like a model every day, is a mental thing as you move on in life.
Yeah,
it is. And then you don't even want to, wait a minute, let me ask you, did you go through this when you got married? Or maybe even before you got married? Were you okay with being naked in front of your husband?
No.
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't think I was ever okay with it. And God forbid I caught him looking at me naked. It was like, oh, what are you, wait a minute.
Did you go through I have to get up before he wakes up and go to the bathroom, brush my teeth, wash my face? If I'm going to wear makeup, because again, your generation is different, let me make sure I at least have some makeup on before he wakes up. I have to be as close to perfect as possible. When we just slept all night, did you go through that?
Yeah, or making sure I had my wig on,
Yeah, like, and for me,
or messing
I
up
went
my
through that, but
wig.
not to that degree because remember, I didn't wear makeup. You know,
Hmm.
even right now, this is more a medical situation than it is that I really want to have on makeup.
Hmm.
But I couldn't. I didn't do the makeup, and at that time, I didn't really do wigs. Again, that's medical for me. But I still had to get up, go to the bathroom, brush my face, brush my teeth, wash my face, do all the little, make sure I don't have no coal in my eyes from sleeping the night before. If I got a ponytail in my hair, let me make sure my ponytail is tight. I can't let them see my hair all over my head or whatever the case may be. I literally just got to the point of being comfortable with wearing headscarves, which is crazy to me, and it's like now I don't care, but it could be because of the MIT, HIT, Mr. in training, husband in training, whatever we want to call him today. It could be because he doesn't care. He's very adamant on be who you are, and that's not what this is about. And I know what you look like, and everyone has a bad moment, and you don't have to impress me. And if you don't have to impress me, why you gotta impress them? But that was the type of person that he is that's actually rubbing off on me in that manner. Well, I don't care if I have on a headscarf, but I would have never done that with my late husband. I had to
Hmm.
be sick, Nikki, to literally have on a headscarf. Literally. Because of how we were trained. We couldn't let them see us like that.
Hmm. Yeah, to always put your best foot forward. I think that even um, I remember when I had my son and I was home with him, and my son's father was going to work and stuff, and my grandmother would come, or whoever, my aunts, everybody would just come to the house, to see the baby. And I was a mess. I mean, didn't shower, didn't brush my hair, looking homeless and probably smelling homeless, okay? And I could not, and when he got in the house, I may have dinner done. And it was like, here, take your son. And take your son. Here you go.
I did my part. This is the gift to you. This is the gift to you.
And I remember my grandmother, maybe one of my aunts, they said to me, like, you look like that when he come in the house, you gonna lose him. And I was like,
Yeah.
I just gave this man a son.
A whole human. A
He
whole
better
human.
he better lick my sweat up. Like I was just like, wait a minute.
She said, "Lift my sweat up." Good God Almighty! Okay, I can't. I cannot. It's too early. It's too early. It's too early. I mean, I get that. Like it, we just were raised a certain way, but it wasn't always something as simple as just how you look when you go outside.
Yeah.
It wasn't always as simple as how you look even in the house. Because you're right. Even if the family came around, you still had to have this certain persona. You could be sick as a dog, but you better not look a hot mess. Not over here. You ain't gonna never let nobody see that. And they used to always say, never let them see you sweat. Forget sweating. I'm really
Mhm.
sick. Something is really wrong. I'm going through some changes. Forget
Yeah.
sweating. I can go put on some deodorant. I can go and put on some perfume. But at the
Yeah.
end of the day, we were just taught to hide so
Yeah.
much. And then as we become adults and we get into the real world, some of which we knew because we watched our parents go through some things, and some of
Mhm.
which we had no idea about. It is
Mhm.
the you can't tell anyone your business. You
Yeah.
can't talk to anybody about it. You just have to keep it between you and the Lord. That's it, just you and the Lord. Take it to Jesus and leave it there.
And my son always says, if anything happened, he'd be like, "Well, that sounds like a you problem. Like I don't care about them people. That's a you problem."
That's what she said. She went, that sounds like a you problem. Maybe she said that's a PP. I said, well, what is a PP? That's a personal problem. Oh,
Mhm.
okay. But again, the differences in the generations and how we're
Generations.
raising
Yeah.
ours versus how we were raised.
Yeah, I think I always say that I feel like your generation is the generation to discover the trauma. Our generation is the generation that tries to heal the trauma. And the next generation is the generation that's going to live without the trauma.
If they listen. If they
Yeah.
listen. If they listen and they take heed, they would definitely go through less than any of us did. But they have to
Yeah.
listen and take heed, you know.
Yeah.
Even down to the whole infidelity thing. How do you tell either male or female that, hey, you married this person and you just gonna have to learn how to get over it and get through this? How do you tell them that, but then tell them you can't talk to nobody?
Yeah.
How
Exactly.
do you
Right.
do that, you know? And then your
Yeah.
generation is different because my generation, which is funny because, you know, my course of study is psychology, but my generation, we were wrong for going to therapists and counselors and no offense to anybody there listening, but Black people don't do that. That was something that we were just not allowed to do. We were not allowed to admit that we needed some type of mental help. And then my generation, it was go to the church, you know, go to the pastor. That's all the mental help you need. But even that sometimes wouldn't be right depending on what church you was a part of, because you talk to the ministerial staff and they tell your business just as bad as one of your homegirls or one of your family members. It's a whole
You
other
ain't
church.
never.
Like, wait a minute, what is going on here? Well,
Uh-huh.
how do people even know this when I only said this to this person?
Yeah.
I remember calling my godmother, one of my godmothers rather, when I was grown. I had to be about 21, no, maybe 22. And I got arrested. And I called her from the holding jail or cell or whatever you want to call it. And she came and got me. And years later, my mother said to me, well, you didn't tell me the cat came and picked you up from jail, this, that, and the other. And I said, I didn't know that that was really any of your business. And she's like, why didn't you call me? Because all my life you told me not to. It was a known thing in my house to me and her older son. You know, it was, if you ever get in trouble, don't call me because I don't have your
Mhm.
bail money. I ain't coming to get you. So to find yourself in that situation, why would you call the one person that's been telling you all your life, don't call? And then when it was
Yeah.
all over said and done, what did we really need to discuss? I have the mindset of, if you can't be there for me at my worst, you don't deserve me at my best.
Yeah.
You didn't go to court with me. You didn't support me. I couldn't even call you. Do you know how painful it was? Talk about revealing. Do you know how painful it was that you couldn't call your own parent in that
Hmm.
situation? And
Hmm.
clearly I was good, you know, didn't get no time for nothing, nothing like that. Nothing really happened because of it. But it was just the mental from what they put on us of what you can say, what you can't say, what you can do, what you can't do. And then when it doesn't fit into their little box that they
Yeah.
create, then it's wrong. Well, why was I mean, just think about it. Think about me telling you, Nikki, listen, you get locked up, girl, don't call me. And imagine me saying that to you several times, and then you find yourself in that predicament, and you call somebody else, and then when I find out about it, I'm like, yo, I thought I was the big cousin. Why didn't you call me? Shit, didn't
Yeah.
you tell
You
me not to
told me
call
not to
you?
call.
Well, what
Right.
was I going to call you for? I didn't
Right.
mean what I said, but that's
I
what
wish
you
my
said
one
though.
phone call.
But and then I was raised. Well, I can't say raised. It was imparted in me by one of my elementary school teachers. His name was Mr. Woods. His big thing was sunshine. Say what you mean and mean what you say. That was
Hmm.
it. He was like, I don't care what you say in life. Say what you mean, but make sure you mean what you say, because you can't take things back once they're out there.
Yeah.
And that became almost like a foundation of certain parts of me. So most of the time
Yeah.
I tell people I meant what I said. I might not have meant it how I said it, but I did mean what I said.
Hmm.
I'm not really
Hmm.
going to apologize for what I said, because what I said was heartfelt. And I'm not one of those kind of people that just say stuff off the cuff. I normally think about what I'm about to say. And then sometimes you'll hear me say, you know, I ain't even going to address that because I already know what I'm thinking. I'll never be able to take it back,
Yeah.
you know. But it was a lot of conceal it all in the
Yeah.
family. You can't say nothing. You can't
Yeah.
say nothing. And then in one of my books that I published, I actually commented on that. I said, it's so funny that we're taught not to lie. Lying is wrong. But from the very beginning, our family is telling us to lie.
All the
You
time.
can't say this. You can't tell the truth. It's not like you're telling a lie. You can't tell the truth. That's family business.
Yeah.
That's the family secret.
Yeah.
So it's like, which one do you want me to do? Do you want me to tell the truth or do you want me to lie? You get in trouble for telling the truth and you get in trouble for lying. You just can't.
Yeah. Yeah. I understand that. So why do you think perception is so important or was so important to our family?
Well, because many like to keep up with the Joneses.
Mm.
Simply put, they like to look like something they are not. And I'll give it to you in this manner that I'm sure you can relate to. I know too many grown men that live at home with their parents, renting somebody's basement, renting a room in someone's house, but they driving around in luxury cars, but you can't even afford to pay your own rent.
Mm-hmm.
When you're outside of the projects or the hood or subpar conditions that may not be what you want to represent, you look like you worth $1,000,000.
Yeah.
But then you go home and you got to duck and dodge to make sure you don't get hit by that bullet.
Right.
Make sure you don't step on that crack valve, you know. But that is so normal because people want to be something that they're not. And it's not a problem. Please understand. It is not a problem that you have bigger goals and aspirations than where you are. Because you should.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The problem
Mm-hmm.
is when you want to live the fake it till you make it.
Mm.
That's the problem. And see, stuff like that, the first time I heard fake it till you make it, it came across the pulpit.
Mm. Woo-wee. Speak on it.
Let's really tell the truth about it. It came across the pulpit.
Mm. You ain't never lied. I already know where this is going.
I'm just saying. I mean, I've seen pastors and first ladies and ministerial staff of high titles, women walking around with fake bags on. And don't get me wrong, I don't believe in making somebody else rich. But if you don't want to pay to play, why are you faking it, making the what do you want to call it? What is the name of the people on the street?
The designers?
No, not them people. The people that sit in the pews. I call them pew warmers.
Oh.
But I know that's not the name for it. Oh God! But the parishioners. They want to make the parishioners think that they've achieved this status that realistically they have not even done. So now you have the parishioners going out here and they're buying the real thing because they saw a first lady with one on, not even realizing that what she had on was fake.
Yeah.
And then you get into your cluster and it's, oh girl, yeah, I got this down at the swap. It was only $99. But you ain't telling those that are following you and looking up to you the truth.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when I heard fake it till you make it, I said, well, what is that? Ain't none of nobody's business. Same thing that you've been hearing from your parents and your grandparents and your great grandparents. Ain't none of nobody's business. They don't have to know.
Yeah.
That's just how it's been. And how do you change that? My son, for example, he didn't know the true religion at the time was a big deal.
Oh.
He had no clue. He had no clue that Gucci and Versace and Louis, he had no idea. Not because he didn't have it, because he definitely had it, but because I never made a big deal about what he was wearing. So what ended up happening was he started getting around different people as he got older. And they would ask him questions like, is your mom rich? He like, no. Why you say that? I mean, you wear this, that, and the other every day. How do you do that? So I had to start explaining some things to him. But he just never knew. Now, the problem I've created with that, he doesn't like anything. I'm sorry. He doesn't like anything that's not name brand now. Because that's what he's been used to all his life. So that's a two-edged sword. On one hand, you didn't even know what it is, but now you don't want anything but that. So that's why I had to release him in a manner of, you have to get a job and you have to buy everything you want from here on out. I'm not taking care of you anymore.
So let's go back on this name brand thing.
Oh God, I'm scared. Then the girl is totally different though. She hates name brands with a passion.
Yeah. And so I'm kind of like that too with name brand. If it's name brand, I don't want it to be name brand all over the product.
I agree with that.
Like it can be like in the tag or something where I know that, this is a Gucci sweater or something. But so one, I don't really care for name brand period anyway, because it's other things like go buy me an apartment complex or something. Like,
Indeed, indeed.
but that's just with growth, right? Because I think that was also with me, like that whole truth versus perception, keeping up with the Joneses. My dad, he's very much so like that. Keeping up with the Joneses. Like, it's ridiculous. So why do you think that people like to wear these name brand products? Or let's say it like this. Prime example. So I live in a semi-decent neighborhood. If you go 2 minutes up the street, it's a really, really, really well-off neighborhood. I'm talking like acres and custom built homes and big gates and all this kind of stuff. And if you see any of the cars coming out of there, it's a Toyota, it's a Honda. But then if you go down the street a couple miles where it's like a normal 6-figure home, right? Low 6 figures, like nothing above 5, right? You see Teslas, Mercedes.
Girl,
I
let me
mean,
stop you
in
with
the driveway.
A Tesla came and picked my daughter up yesterday and left because I wouldn't take her to the store. Why do you have a Tesla but you need to lift?
Yes.
Why?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, so it's like, so then I look at this and then my thought process, because I gotta drive my car till the wheels fall off. Like, listen, Blue is paid for, and I am going to continue to ride this baby until she will not putt no more. And I don't care if I'm a multi-billionaire, you are going to catch me in a Toyota, a Honda, you're going to catch me in something light. But why do you think that these name brands and these big brands are important to people, especially our people in our community?
They want to be something that they're not.
Yeah.
That's really what it boils down to. There is no other way to put it. They really want to be something that they are not. And I don't knock people, don't get me wrong, but you can't walk around with Gucci and Louis splattered all over you and then talk about you need money for your lights. You need money for the gas. Your car got repossessed. I'm sorry, that doesn't make sense to me. My uncle, your father, he gave me a rule when I was a teenager. He saw me with a bag and he asked me how much money did I have. And I said, why you ask me that? He was like, I'm just curious. So I told him. He said, oh, that ain't too bad, especially since you're young, you're a single mom, this, that, and the other. He was like, but let me tell you something. He was like, don't you ever have a bag that costs more than the money you have inside of it. And that became a part of me because it made sense. And back then, MCM bags, Fendi bags, it might have only been a few $100s. It wasn't like it is so inflated now, But if I'm walking around with a $500 bag on and I only have $5 in that bag, what am I doing wrong? So, people, they come and they drop off seeds or snippets, or niblets or whatever, and they just let them grow. And most of the time, they don't even realize what they're doing. That's why I tell people, don't get mad when people don't respond to you while you're saying it in the moment, that you don't just see them jump on it. Because I promise you, if it was worth what you said at the time you took to say it, eventually those seeds will grow. That's why you have to be careful of the negative things you speak as well as the positive things that you speak. Period.
Yeah.
But our people and the name brands, it's just weird to me. Like, I won't say the designer's name because we're recording, but there was this one particular designer that I only liked because of the initials. And then I found out that he was majorly racist. You know, I don't do the whole name splattered across an item. I like to be discreet in everything. And most people, they're not. They want you to know what it is. I would rather you have to ask me, what is that? You know, where did you get that from? Than for it to be very noticeable of what it is, you know. But in that manner, I guess being a single parent so young, you didn't even have the ability to get caught up into that because you were too busy playing mommy and making sure your child had, at least those of us who were good parents, let's be clear, because not
Yeah.
everybody is good parents, you know. So if you have someone who will dress from top to bottom, hair and nails always done, and they can't step out with a fresh pedicure, but their children looking like they were in the welfare line, you have a problem. But that's what you
Yeah.
normally saw. And I didn't want to be on I didn't want to be compared to the bad people, if that makes sense. Because most times
Yeah.
in my generation, if it was a female around my age, that meant either she was selling drugs or her man was selling drugs. And that's how
Yeah.
you could distinguish who was doing what. Because those of us that had to work for it couldn't afford to have
Yes.
those things and work and
Yes.
take care of the family. We had to choose. That's something that as parents we've been doing for years. We have to choose
Yeah.
between us and them,
Yes.
and it always is them.
Yeah. It's always gonna be
And I
them.
didn't
Yeah.
even
Because
start
my
wearing real name brand stuff, Nikki, until I opened up my boutique, if you think about it. And at that point, I
yeah.
still didn't wear name brand stuff. I just had so many purses and stuff like that. I was my brand. So since I
Yeah.
needed that type of traffic
Attention.
to come into my
Yeah.
store, then I was
Yeah.
a walking display, a walking advertisement. So
Yeah.
at that point, that was
Yeah.
my
Because you
business.
wanted people to be like, "Oh my God, where'd you get that from? Where'd you get that from?" You
Exactly. And
know.
that's all that ever happened. They'd be like, oh my goodness, where did you get that? And most of the time I would just give them a business card if I didn't feel like talking. And if I didn't mind because the person looked like they were not such a bad person, you know, I would say, you
Yeah.
know, from my boutique. Oh my goodness, where is it at? Yada, yada, yada. You know, but at
Yeah.
that point, it's a whole different thing. And even when people see me now, and I don't do that anymore, a lot of what they see is what I purchased then for the point of
Yeah.
advertisement.
I mean, your boutique was fire because I took a lot of them pieces to Jamaica and a bunch of places. I mean, and people were stopping me like, "Oh my goodness, you're a model." Oh, and I was like, "No." They were like, "Okay, you're an influencer." Like, where do I subscribe? Like, because I was taking pictures, flicking it up like I do, and everybody was like, "Oh, look at your gown. Oh, you're like, yeah, it was fire. It
Thank you. And I
was
still get
fire."
people saying, you should do it again, this, that, and the other. No. You
Yeah,
know, the reason I won't do it is because it is so much for a brick and mortar, just being
it's
honest.
a lot.
And then there is
Yeah,
so much competition because a lot of stuff, I have all these wholesale licenses and resale licenses, and we're supposed to have the top of the litter, the pick of the litter, you know. But
yeah,
you find now that these companies overseas are selling them to regular people. So if you're selling the
yeah,
same thing
yeah,
to them, then why do they need to come to me? Only thing they need to do is wait for it to come across the waters, is what I call it. If you're willing to wait
yeah,
for it to come across the waters, you can get it at the same price I get it at. But if you walk into
yeah.
my store, you have to consider that I
You gotta
have
pay top.
lights. I have to have water because it has to be a bathroom inside of the building. I even have to have the
Yeah,
internet because everything runs off of Wi-Fi. Even
yeah,
Square connects to the internet. You know,
yes,
so and then I'm not going to be in the shop from open to close. That's the point of me being an owner. Okay.
mm-hmm.
That's the part of me being the boss, and people don't know how to really boss. That trips me out. You're a
Yeah,
boss, but you at work 24 hours a day. You're a
yeah,
slave to society too, just like anybody who works with you at the end of the day. So you have to think
yeah,
about paying your employees and insurances and stuff like that. And then you get people to come in. And yeah, I did buy that blouse for $99. But no, I'm not going to sell it for $99. So you see all this overhead that I have?
yeah,
So that's why I won't do that again. That's not my thing. I'll personal shop for people. But for me to go
yeah,
and do it, Oh yeah, I definitely do personal shopping. People who know that what I did, they just let
Yeah,
go. And they be like, hey, I
yeah,
need an order. And I'm like, what you looking for? They tell me, I'm like,
yeah.
okay, this is my fee. Bet. And I sell them their stuff at cost because I just charge them a fee for me shopping. But
You charge them a fine
yep,
fee.
that's it.
Yeah, yeah. That's
Indeed.
what's up.
Indeed.
So, do you feel like with us breaking these curses, right, and us acknowledging the pain or the issue?
When you look at where I came from and you look at where I am, I don't have a complaint in the world because I have everything that my ancestors wanted for me and probably everything they never even imagined that I could have. So I do have it all. My health is not 100%, but I've beat the masses in everything I've been through. The things I've been through, as you know, most people would die from it. My children are successful. I don't live in just any old kind of neighborhoods. I have a standard. It has to have certain things for me to even step foot in it. I won't even go see a house if it does not already look a certain way. If I drive into a neighborhood, Nikki, and I don't get the "oh, I'm home" type of feeling, we dropping out of the neighborhood. I'm not staying there because I have choices. When you're in a position that you can choose, you don't have to settle. You have it all.
Yeah.
I get up, I work when I want to work, and I'm not rich. My
Mm-hmm.
schedule is my schedule. It's not a schedule that someone put on me. It's a schedule that I chose for myself. I don't drive around in a Tesla, don't think I ever will. But at the same time, I don't drive around in just any old thing either. You know, my children, despite even what they've been through, because they have their own set of trauma and issues that they went through,
Mm-hmm.
they're both graduated. They both graduated earlier. Everybody is moving into their successful places of life. I have a solid relationship with God. It's not wishy-washy. I know that I know that I know that He's real. So why
Mm-hmm.
do I not have it all? I can go to any
Yeah.
freezer in my house and there's food. I
Yeah.
don't need the. I don't go through that. I can't go somewhere because I don't have gas money. Let's just talk about real everyday issues that people go through. You have a car, but you can't start it up. You can't start it up because it's either broke or you can't afford the gas. People was just hollering about the cost of eggs. And don't get me wrong, it was ridiculous. But I still was able to go buy eggs for my daughter who eat eggs every single day. It wasn't like, oh my God, you can't have eggs now because they cost more than $3. So for me, I really do have it all. Only thing
Yeah.
that I don't have that I desire is marital companionship. And I have to word the way that it is because that doesn't mean that I don't have companionship. That just means that I'm a widow, not a wife. That's it. So what am I really missing? If you look at what they tell us we're supposed to have, if you look at how we grew up, and y'all always had a better life over there as far as I'm concerned. Like, for real. Like, as far as the financial part of it, your dad and Aunt Pat, they were the ones that really had it going on. So the cousins from that aunt and that uncle, y'all always had everything that we didn't necessarily have. Okay. I remember crazy. I remember y'all first house, the house that you were born into, Oakland
Oakland
Avenue.
Avenue.
Yeah. And Aunt Pat house. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
They were my goal houses. That's all I wanted. I wanted a house like my aunt and uncle. I was excited when I realized I finally had the refrigerator that I wanted because it was a side by side refrigerator with the ice that came out the door. But those were my goals. And one day, what really hit me, I had spent some time with Aunt Pat and I had to send her something. And when I sent it back to her when she left my home, she didn't answer her phone. So I needed to find her zip code because I knew the address, but I didn't know the zip code. I went and looked it up. And Zillow brings up everything. Okay. So it said how many square feet the house was. And girl, I was stumped. Because that was like equivalent to almost half a floor in the house I was living in at the time. And I'm like, golly, when they say tell God your dreams and watch what he does, that's the feeling that I get because I could have never imagined. This is above my imagination.
I feel like we were definitely raised, even though we were taught a lot of like bad habits. I will say that strength of a woman is instilled in us. I feel like we got it from grandma, my mom, like just just the pure strength that a woman has to literally put her family on her back and completely just take care of everything. I feel like that's something that makes us more resilient than
And we have a different
most.
standard because of it. It's not like we're as desperate as some people may be because of the standard that's been put into us. Number one, we know that, yeah, this might be going on, but we can get through it. I might not like this spot, but this is just a stepping stone. The key to going through is what I often tell people when, especially church people, I'm just going through. But the whole thing is you go through, you don't get stuck. Period.
Mm-hmm.
You might be in that tunnel, but you have to keep going through until you see the light. A lot of people get in situations where trials and tribulations come to their lives and they will get stuck instead of going through.
Mm-hmm.
But how many have gotten stuck because they didn't have a support system? Let's talk about that. Just think about those that didn't have anybody that could pull them through, nobody that could pray them through, nobody that could actually be in the situation and say, you know what, I absolutely hate this situation, but I'm going to go ahead and tell you what's right rather than what I feel. How many people really have that in our family? That's unheard of, to be quite honest. But our female grandparents, they was a beast. They were. You can't even take it from them. Like what? And then we were taught to also take things in stride. Deal with things gracefully. But is that a good and a bad? Because you can't let people see
Right.
what's really going on. But on the other hand, it's for me. It's more of if I have God in my life, I'm not supposed to look like what the world goes through.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I am with it. Yes, I understand what was put on us by our family, but just my own relationship with God, it is simple. Yeah, I went through that, but you didn't see me screaming and howling and laying on the floor and can't wash my butt, stuff like that, because I have a different thing in me than most people do. I don't have a
Yeah.
relationship with God that someone forced on me. I have a relationship with
Yeah.
God that I have personal for myself. And because of that,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to look like what the sinner. And don't get me wrong, we all sin. Let me be very clear about that for whoever's listening. We all sin.
Mm-hmm.
But you understand what I'm saying when I say the sinner. I'm not going to look like that person who don't have a relationship with God, don't have a bit of God, and are in a backslidden state or been turned over to a reprobate mind. I'm not going to look like that. I'm going to look like I walk with God, period. Because I do. So that's why I say that's like a two-edged sword, that they tell you that you can't look like what you're going through. Okay. And you feel like you have to hide and conceal it. But on the flip side, if you step outside of the family and you just deal with you and your personal relationship with God, why should you look like what you're going through? What makes you any better than the people who don't know God?
Right.
So that's another part of breaking the curse. We have to also be able to rightly divide, as the Bible tells us, what is truth and what is not truth. And even some things that are not truth, we have to remember all things come together for the good of them that love the Lord. So
Mm-hmm.
even the things that are negative, I tell my kids this all the time, still has to have a place, because all things are supposed to work together for the good of them. Period.
Yeah. I feel like this was a good episode. I feel like we definitely hit on some important key points, and I hope that the people listening, that it was impactful. I hope that you got something from this conversation, and let's keep the conversation going. Drop down in the comment box below. Let us know your thoughts. Let us know, if you've experienced any of this. Have you been able to reveal your traumas and your pain? And are you healing? Have you healed? And what does healing look like for you? We're very curious to know. And we will catch y'all on the next episode of Breaking the Curse with Sunshyne and Nikki. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Click down in the bio below for all the links to our social. You can find us on TikTok and IG and Facebook at Sunshyne X Nikki BTC. And until then, we will see y'all next time. Sunshyne, any closing thoughts? Nope. All right. Well, we'll catch y'all on the next episode of Breaking the Curse with Sunshyne and Nikki. We love y'all. Bye.